Hello there my friends, it's Ebird Online and I'm back for another roundup of Bilal and Shaeeda from this week's 90 Day Fiance, Season 9, Episode 8. I hope you guys had a great bank holiday. We had a 4-day special for the Queen's coronation and the Queen paid about as much mind to it as I did. In fact, I'd go so far as to say I felt very much like Prince Louis was feeling, although it's fair to suggest he was rather better behaved than I was. Anyway guys, let's get into it. We have an awful lot to talk about. Now, as you all know, Bilal wanders around this wonderful earth of ours, just spreading pain and disappointment everywhere he goes, and this week is no exception. Want to hear what I think about it? I thought as much, but just before we do, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you've yet to do so. And if you've yet to try it out, consider hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's subscribed so far and everyone who leaves comments. This season's comments have been off the hook, they've been cracking me up, so thank you so much for that. And just before we get into it, don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoy the video. And so without further ado, I give you Bilal and Shaeeda. And so guys, last week and this week, I've had a very uneasy feeling with regard to this relationship. Not just because Bilal is the worst narcissist 90 Day Fiance has ever known, ergo the world has ever known, but because I think he and Shaeeda are on totally different pages for this relationship. Bilal thinks that he's a man and he's head of the household, and as such, he should be able to tell Shaeeda what he wants her to do at all times. Shaeeda, on the other hand, it seems to me, wants to be treated, surprise surprise, as an equal. And I think their failure to discuss this integral part of the foundation for their relationship is going to lead to argument after argument after argument. Guys, prove me wrong. So last week when we first saw Bilal, he explained to us that Shaeeda and he have had some very tense moments in the mere 7 days that she's been here. But now he's decided that he wants to put all of that in the past. Bilal, what's wrong with you? If you've had some tense moments and some arguments, you need to discuss why these arguments have occurred so that you can ensure they don't continue in the future. Oh guys, why do people always say, let's put this in the past? It's so ridiculous. But anyway, Bilal decided to do something nice for Shaeeda, and he decided to take her on a romantic walk downtown. And so as they were walking through the streets, Shaeeda said to Bilal, "This is so beautiful, I love it here, it's magical." And she asks him to spin her around. "No, Shaeeda, he'll spin everything you do and everything you say. Do not tell Bilal to spin, no spinning, at any time." And so he spun her around, and then they went for a walk by the river. And as they were looking at all the boats, Shaeeda said to Bilal, "We'll have to do this one day. This would be so romantic." And then Bilal lets the cat out the bag and he tells her that day is today. And he's booked a boat for her. And on they get. And what was said on the boat ride has coloured the whole rest of their relationship for the next 2 weeks. Because unfortunately, Shaeeda decided to open up to Bilal. Bad move, very bad move. For Bilal's the kind of narcissist who will use your weaknesses to score points from you at a later unspecified date. When you open up to someone like Bilal, he'll take the opportunity to peck out your insides. But nevertheless, they got on the boat. And as they were sitting there, Shaeeda was basking in the moment. And Shaeeda tells us, "This is the definition of romantic. This is what I dreamed of when I was reading romantic books as a child. Flowers in the attic, girls on a train, woman in love." Oh dear. Which novels, Shaeeda, which novels? And as they sat there, Bilal said, "What are you thinking about?" "Who, me? Oh right, well the E-Bird's thinking. Dive overboard and swim for your bloody life." "Oh right, I see. What's Shaeeda thinking about?" "Fair enough." "Shaeeda? Well, she says, I'm feeling so overwhelmed and so happy and so grateful." "Oh joy, she took heed of the message on the t-shirt, I see." And guys, she really opened up. She said, "I never thought I'd find love, and I used to cry at night, and I'd be so frustrated and upset, thinking I'd never be happy." And Bilal said, "Yeah, I can relate to that. I've wanted to be married since I was 10 years of age. But you know, I've been thinking recently, maybe marriage isn't on the cards for me. Maybe the person that I'm meant to be with doesn't even exist." And guys, as he was saying this, I was watching Shaeeda, and her face was kind of blank, but she must have been thinking the same that I was thinking. What do you mean? I thought maybe the person that I was going to marry doesn't exist. Shaeeda's sitting right there. You can touch her, you can feel her, she does exist. So why are you saying this? And unfortunately, guys, I think as usual for Bilal, it's a power play. She's just opened up and said, oh, this is so romantic, this is what I've dreamed of, I never thought it would happen to me. But now it has. And he's very thoughtful, thinking, well, maybe the person I want doesn't exist. It's a power play. He asks her what she's thinking, gets her to open up, but then he doesn't give her anything back. At all times, Bilal wants to have the upper hand. And this is best demonstrated by the fact that he then tells production Shaeeda could be the one. But he doesn't tell her, he doesn't give her any little crumbs and say you could be the one or this could be it. He lets her pour her heart out and then he leaves her there, hanging. But then something really interesting happened. Shaeeda admitted to Bilal that she said she didn't want kids before because she assumed that it was just never going to happen. But then she explained to him, when you find the right person, things change. And now I find you, I do definitely want kids. You're the right person for me, 100%. Guys, this is really interesting because I wasn't sure who was actually telling the truth. Remember Bilal said she didn't want kids and now she says she does. Well, it turns out that's entirely true. It would be interesting to me to find out when she told him that she now had changed her mind and did want kids. And it also kind of explains why he's so on the fence about things, because I guess he had it in his head, no kids, we'll just have a partnership, just us two. And now obviously there's a completely different dynamic potentially happening. But again, when she said to Bilal, you're the right person for me, 100%, he said 110, and she said 110%. And he smiled, nodded his little head and said, that's really good to know. Again, he gives her no reassurance or he doesn't say to her, you're the right person for me. Just crickets. And then Shaeeda said, I do want to have kids. Do you understand? And then Bilal said, I understand where you're coming from. But it's like this, you see. Once you find love and you have it, you have to work extra hard to maintain it. Putting kids into the mix, that's something totally different. Then he gave his age-old, we've only known each other in the flesh for 7 days. We'll have to wait and see. And later, to production, he said, one of my main fears is having kids and then divorcing and not having access to my children. But I do worry that if we don't agree on this issue, then it could even drive us apart. Drive you apart, Bilal? If you don't agree to having kids, I pretty much think you won't be getting married. And so on to this week, when we first see this couple, Shaeeda's talking to production and she says, I'm in my feelings about the boat ride last week. Bilal didn't give me the answers I wanted. And guys, I don't know what you think. I think she's leaving things a little bit short here. Obviously she does want to know about kids. And I think Bilal's of the mind and is sort of hinted at saying it. Let's wait until we get to know each other, maybe for a month or 2 months, and then we'll make a decision. But I think another reason that she's worried and she hasn't actually said it is because Bilal didn't say to her, you're the right one for me, or I'm really in love with you, or anything like that. He's still maintaining this whole let's see how things go scenario, and I think that has also discombobulated Shaeeda. And so she's sitting on the sofa and Bilal walks in. Are you ready to go to Juma? And she said, no, I don't think I'm going to go this week. And you can tell Bilal is not happy with this. And once again he speaks to production and he tells us, Juma is a holy day. Bilal, we know. And it's a special day for Muslims. Bilal, we know. We put whatever business we have to one side and we go and pray. Bilal, we know. But you can repeat yourself as much as you like. Shaeeda ain't going. She doesn't want to go. And Bilal moans on to producers. Once again, he says, I've been single for years. Oh, have you, Bilal? It's interesting that, because I've been hearing that you've had another secret marriage which you've failed to mention on this show. I think it's highly likely yet another woman's jogged you on. And he continues, and I've been going to the masjid all by myself, and I hoped that when I met the woman of my dreams, that she would want to start coming with me. Now this is really interesting. One, because you haven't told Shaeeda to her face that she is the woman of your dreams. You've kept that all sort of hidden. Secondly, you said yourself last week, everybody here are my family and my friends. This is my community. So why do you need Shaeeda also? And the final thing is, I believe the woman of your dreams would be someone who doesn't talk back and doesn't think for herself and is totally subservient to you. And that ain't Shaeeda, not from what I can see. And so Bilal said to Shaeeda, I know we talked about this before. And she said, yes, I know we talked about this before. but in Trinidad, women don't have to go every week. I'm feeling hormonal this week, so I don't really want to go. And she tells production, for us women, it's not compulsory to go every Friday. We can have menstruation, kids, breastfeeding. There's lots of reasons why we wouldn't necessarily go. And then she said, which is really the point, after last week, I'm not looking forward to going back. And guys, remember last week, he left her all alone because he was in his feelings when she tapped him on the head as a joke. Well, Bilal, your little tantrum last week is coming back to bite you on the arse this week. And Bilal said to Shaeeda, I'm not going to force you to go. Of course you're not, Bilal, because you can't. Who is it you think you are? And he continued, but you need to realise that I would love for you to go, because in our religion, it's compulsory. And straight away Shaeeda cut him off. And she said it's not compulsory for women to go. He said, you haven't waited to see what I was going to say. Oh, Bilal, she couldn't give a flying frig what you were going to say. What I was going to say is that in our religion, it's compulsory for men and women to learn about Islam. Oh, good Lord, guys, she already knows about the religion. She's been a Muslim her whole life. The same as you. She was brought up a Muslim. And then Shaeeda said, can I say something, please? AKA, permission to speak. Permission granted. And then she said, every time we have a discussion, it's like a lecture. It's like you're my dad. You always lecture to me 24/7. And Bilal said, really? Interesting. Bilal, don't be interested by it. Be concerned by it. Be of a mind to change your ways. But of course he won't. And then Shaeeda said to production, every time Bilal decides he wants to talk to me, he explains it in a really slow and articulate way. And she said, I'm like, yes, Daddy. No, Daddy. He's in full lecturing mode with a lecturing voice. Oh, Shaeeda, we've all noticed it. He treats you just like one of his kids. He talks to you as if you know nothing. He considers you less than him. And the sooner you get your head around that, the better off you'll be. And Bilal said, what if I said, I'm not going to shower for the next, 3 days? What would you say then? Bilal, that's the analogy of either an idiot or a 3-year-old. It's nothing like her deciding not to go to Juma. But even if you did decide you weren't going to shower for the next 3 days, no smell could possibly be as bad as your attitude. It smells like a rotting corpse. And then Shaeeda said, ever since I came here, I've done everything you wanted me to do, but today I'm going to switch it up. And Bilal said, but I know that you want to meet people and to meet the community. And Shaeeda said, thanks for that, but I'm not going to go. And Bilal said, oh, I can see you're being very headstrong. Newsflash for Bilal. A woman deciding where she wants to go and when she wants to go there is not being headstrong. It's merely called making decisions for yourself, by yourself. And if you think that your antics last week at Juma didn't have an effect on Shaeeda, you can think again. Bilal, this whole shit show is of your making. And then Bilal said to production, Islam is the most important part of our relationship, and a family that prays together stays together. Oh really, Bilal? Now it's time for the Ebird to say, interesting. Did you pray with your ex-wife? Did she go to Juma with you every Friday? Do you know what? I bet she did. Did you and your ex-wife stay together? No, you didn't. What are you talking about? Just because something rhymes doesn't just make it true. You'll stay together if you listen to each other and understand each other. You'll stay together if you have a give and take in your relationship. You're not just going to stay together merely because you pray together. That is ridiculous, and only an imbecile would believe otherwise. It's just another little coercion tactic of yours to try and get her to do what you want her to do. And Bilal said, if things don't change, I can't see us getting to the finish line. The women of the world are crossing their fingers that things don't change, just so Shaeeda can escape you, Bilal, so she can escape. And so next time we see this couple, Bilal's returning from Juma. He walks through the door and says, Salam alaikum. Oh my God, I just got chased by the biggest bee in the world. What? Who? Emily? I know she's in Kansas, but bloody hell, she gets around. Oh right, okay, an actual bee. My mistake. Bilal walked straight into the kitchen and he said, what's going on here? You have water everywhere. And then he said, water's a bad thing. Well, most of us are about 55 to 60% water, but not Bilal. He's 55 to 60% dog crap. And then he said, water on the floor is very bad. So guys, there are a few splashes and a bit of water on the kitchen surface and then a little bit on the floor. And according to Bilal, this tiny splash of water on the floor was enough to buckle it. And at this point, Bilal's just being an OTT OCD. Shaeeda said, I knew that you were a bit OCD when we were in Trinidad, but now it's beginning to get on my nerves. And Bilal said to her, when I left this house, it was clean and spotless. It's still clean and spotless, Bilal. Why are you making such a big deal of it? And Shaeeda said, it's only a little water. But of course, that's not enough for Bilal. He decides to go on a house hunt, looking for shit that Shaeeda's done wrong. He opens the cutlery drawer and he notices a big spoon in with the little spoons. Oh my God, the horror! She's a monster. Oh dear. He said you need to put everything in the right compartment. And then he looked and no doubt saw a watermark on something and said, it's not washed properly. And Shaeeda said, well, you know that washing up and whatever, that's not my thing. And between you and me, guys, I thought he would have had a dishwasher or a cleaner. Oh, what was that? Oh, right, he has. Her name's Shaeeda. That's you. And he looked at her as if she was the latest incarnation of the devil. And Shaeeda has much to worry about. And in fact, she went to production and she said, we have 90 days to decide what we're going to do. Meeting someone and speaking to someone online is completely different from face to face. No shit, Sherlock. And we see things very differently. I worry that Bilal and I will find it really difficult to compromise. And that's where we end things for this week. So what does the Ebird make from all of this? Well, I look at myself and I ask, where would you place a man like Bilal? In your friend zone, ladies. This is not a person that you should be dating, never mind marrying. Poor Shaeeda is forced to listen to his ridiculous outpourings week after week. He tries to boss her around and tell her what to do, and when she stands up for herself, he says infuriating things such as, oh, you're headstrong. No, it's not being headstrong. You do what you want to do, and I will do what I want to do. And the way he said, I can't force you to go to Juma, told me everything I need to know. He was considering it, guys. That sort of shit doesn't leave your lips unless it was first a thought in your mind. And I think more than likely the only reason he wasn't trying to force her was because of the presence of the cameras. But the worst thing about the whole Juma episode was the fact that he didn't have the hindsight to work out, actually, I made it really awkward for her last week. And so if there's the slightest reason that she doesn't want to go, she's virtually walking around with a get out of jail free card. This, guys, this passes him by. He's so busy thinking about his wants and his needs that he doesn't consider, why isn't she going with me? And I know she said, oh, I'm not going because I'm hormonal. But he knows he can scratch that. He knows exactly where you are in your cycle, my love, because he's busy trying not to get you pregnant. But it surprised me that he didn't care enough to say, is everything okay? Or is it something I've done? He really is as obtuse as the day is long. And then of course there was the hoo-ha about the water in the kitchen. Fair enough, she did make a bit of a mess, but it's water. He's acting as if it's bloody liquid nitrogen or something. And again, the ridiculousness with the knives and forks. I fully believe he is OCD. But I also believe that he's putting 20 on 10 all the time so he can, as we said last week, beat Shaeeda down with a stick. Everything she does is wrong. Everything she says is wrong. Everything she touches is wrong. After a while, she's going to become scared of her own shadow. And again, as in previous weeks, he's both disingenuous and invasive when talking about the issue of having children. It's not the fact that he maybe doesn't want to have children, but it's the fact that whenever she talks about it, he suddenly loses the ability to speak. In fact, that's quite a good way to shut him up. I think in future when he's bollocking her about something, she should just say, what do you think about us having kids? And then like magic, he's mute. And then finally for Bilal this week, we have a new misdemeanor to add to the book. And I have slightly noticed this before, but it was really made obvious to me in this episode. When Shaeeda says to him, we're perfect together and you're the right one for me, he always says, good to know. He only ever says love you in a kind of, I don't know, throwaway manner, love you kind of thing. He never actually sits and seriously says, I love you. And he never fully opens up about his feelings. Between you and me, I think that was another reason why Shaeeda didn't want to go to Juma this week. I think she was peed off after the boat trip because she's there spilling out her guts and he's busy making sausages out of it all. But what are my thoughts about Shaeeda this week? Well, when Shaeeda first came, I thought she was quite a strong girl and quite forthright. And even though she stands up to Bilal here and there, she's actually somewhat of a shrinking violet. She never really says her true feelings about Bilal, and she never really pulls him up when he's pissed her off. There's a lot of eye rolling and a lot of grimacing, but not a lot of Bilal, why did you do this? She doesn't pick him up on things. And guys, I've got a sneaking feeling that she's actually got a fire inside of her, and that she's, how can I say, faking her personality, faking her meekness. I don't know what it is, but something tells me she's got a flipperoo inside of her. And if Bilal ever does put that ring on her finger, he's going to see it day in, day out. Yes, guys, that's right. No evidence whatsoever. Just a feeling. Just a feeling. And she told production at the end of the episode, we see things differently. And I don't know if we'll be able to compromise enough. Guys, I think by now she's read the Yelp reviews. Shout out to Erica De Niro. But she now knows that Bilal is an overbearing, narcissistic misogynist. But she's really not prepared to actually have the difficult conversation with Bilal. You know, the conversation which sounds like, do you see a man and woman as equal? Or do you think the man is the head of the body and the woman is the neck that turns it? You know, that conversation. And until she can nail that down, she won't know if this relationship is for her or not. But I think secretly she knows it isn't. But she's desperate to have a kid and to have a family. And so she's clinging on for dear life, maybe hoping that he'll change. Do you know what, Shaeeda? He probably will, for the worst. This is the best it's ever going to get. This is your honeymoon period. And my final point for this video is on the subject of Shaeeda saying she didn't want kids and then saying she did want kids. Her reasoning for doing so was, oh, I never thought I'd find the right person, so I said I wouldn't. Interesting. This week, Shaeeda, you said I used to cry myself to sleep at night, wanting a family and wondering when the whole thing would happen for me. Quite often when I put 2 and 2 together, it makes 4, and this is one of those times. And so my Miss Marple skills have led me to the following conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, I put it to you that she said to Bilal she didn't want kids because she knew he already had 2 and she didn't want to scare him off. Her tactic, I think, was to lure him over to Trinidad and to somehow get to the US and then work on him when she got there. Guys, let me know what you think on this because I'd be very interested on your take. But I've now drawn the conclusion that that was her game with regard to the kids. Anyway, I've rattled on for long enough. Guys, apologies, the videos are coming out so late. As you know, I've got my property business and that's absolutely going mad at the moment. We're so busy. So I will try as hard as I can to get some more videos out for you by the end of the week. But please do let me know in comments what you think about this video and everything I've discussed. Also like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you very soon. You've been listening to Ebird Online, and I bid you good day.